Hey everybody. The first time I set out a challenge for all of you to image a tricky object turned out to be a lot of fun. Many of you tried to image Hoag's object, which is a ring galaxy some 600 million light years away. And so this past fall, I set out another challenge, this time to image Hind's variable nebula. And now the results are in. And you guys have done a spectacular job. So in this video, we're going to be going over your submissions. Hi, my name is Chris, and welcome to my channel. Hind's Variable Nebula, or NGC 1555, is a nebula that fluctuates, along with the changing brightness of variable star T Tauri. The surrounding molecular cloud is dim but beautiful, especially in wider fields of view, but the variable nebula itself is small. I imaged it using 2 telescopes while I was at a star party at the end of September. I imaged a close-up using my Celestron NexStar 6SC running on a wedge. With a focal reducer, the telescope had a focal length of just under 1000 millimeters. I used an ASI 2600 MC Pro camera, and I imaged with a UV IR cut filter. Now, I also took a wider framing at 300 millimeters using my V'ger setup, which is an ASI 294 MC Pro camera imaging through a Nikkor 300F ED lens. Here are my 2 images. The first is the close-up using the 6SC telescope. I was limited by how much time I had at the dark sky party, so this image was only 3.5 hours worth of data. But you can already make out a lot of the dark nebulosity, as well as the variable nebula itself, which is right here at the center. And this is the variable star T Tauri. Here's my second image at 300 millimeters, so you can see the same region of space right here. The variable nebula, T Tauri, that dark cloud complex, and you can see how it extends all the way down through this region to this other reflection nebula down in the bottom left-hand corner. And now let's have a look at your submissions. The first image comes from Steven. Steven was also using a Celestron 6SC, except he had deforked it, and he has it running on a ZWO AM3 Harmonic equatorial mount. So basically, a Celestron C6. He uses it in several configurations, including Hyperstar for super-fast wider field imaging. For this target, Steven imaged at the telescope's native focal length, which is 1500 millimeters. Using his TubeTech Astro ATR 2600C camera. Guiding was achieved using a ZWO 178 MC guide camera with a Svibony SV106 60mm guide scope. The rig was controlled with a Melee Quieter 4C Mini PC running Windows 11 Pro, PhD 2 for guiding, and Nina for overall control and image capture. Here's Steven's first image. This is 5.5 hours of 300-second subs. Again, this was using the ATR 2600C camera. Steven was imaging from his cottage out at Brechin, Ontario, which is a Bortle 4 location. That's about 50 kilometers from the Torrance Barrens Dark Sky Preserve I was at earlier this year, trying to image the Polaris flux. Steven sent in a second image. This one was taken with the same setup, but using an ASI 585 MC Pro camera instead. This is 5 hours of 300-second subs. I think you can see the difference in the detail between the ATR 2600 camera, which has a wider field of view but a larger pixel size of 3.76 microns, versus the 585, which has a pixel size of 2.9 microns. Both are great images, with the wider field of the ATR 2600C showing more of the surrounding dark nebula, while the close-up brings out detail of the actual reflection. Awesome images, Stephen. The next image comes from David and his son Matthew, who had also sent an image of Hoag's object for the first imaging challenge. David and Matthew were using a Celestron 9.25 SCT with a 0.7 reducer for the OTA, a Player 1 Uranus M camera, which is the monochrome 585 sensor, with the Optolong LRGB filters were also used. All of this was running on a Celestron CGX heavy-duty equatorial mount. Because they were imaging in monochrome, they had to use LRGB filters, and they ended up taking 99 luminance frames, 40 red, 39 green channel, and 39 blue, for a total of 217 subs, which at 240 seconds each makes this image just under 14.5 hours of total integration time. And here's the image that they took. As I understand it, David's color camera developed issues, and that this was his first foray into monochrome imaging. Processing was done in PixInsight, Grexpert, RC Astro Blur Exterminator, Star Exterminator, and Noise Exterminator, and finally Lightroom. Instead of trying to push the contrast in order to expose the dark nebula, this image focuses on the finer details of the reflection nebula. And you can really tell that the wide 9.25-inch OTA, together with the small pixel size of the 585 sensor, work beautifully together to give us a great view of the reflection, including the subtle variations that are otherwise lost when pushing the contrast. David and Matthew were imaging from under a Bortle 7 sky just outside of Houston, Texas. Between the Bortle 7 sky and their first time imaging in monochrome, I'd say that this was quite the challenge. Great image, guys. The third submission is from Andrew. Andrew had also sent in his image of Hoag's object, which he had taken with his CPC 800 at its native focal length of 2032 millimeters and an Astro modified D5300 camera. Andrew used the same setup on Hind's variable nebula, this time with and without the f6.3 reducer. Here is his first image with the reducer, totaling 17.4 hours of integration time, using ISO 400 and 3-minute exposures. And here is his second image, where he combined the reducer data with an additional 4.7 hours of 90-second subs imaged without the reducer, for a total of 22.1 hours of integration time. According to Andrew, both images were calibrated with flats, darks, and biases and stacked in Cyril. Background extraction was done with an auto BGE script. Color was calibrated with SPCC, and denoising and object deconvolution was done with Grexpert. Stars were sharpened with Cosmic Clarity Sharpen, and a generalized hyperbolic stretch and saturation were applied. The combined image was stretched with stars, and the stars were then reduced with the DSA Reduce Stars script. Now, Andrew also sent in another image, and this one was using a wide field setup, which consisted of an AZ GTI mount in equatorial mode with a Skywatcher wedge, a Sfibani SV503 80 ED telescope with a 0.8x reducer, a Nikon D5300 Astro modified camera, the SV165 30mm guide scope, the SV905C guide camera, and all of it controlled via SynScan Nina PhD2 via a B-Link mini PC. This image combines 17.9 hours of data captured with an Optolong L-Quad enhanced filter, with an additional 6.9 hours of hydrogen alpha and O3 narrowband shot with the SV220 Sfibani filter. Andrew processed the broadband and narrowband images together using continuum subtraction composition, where he extracted the red channel from the dual narrowband, subtracted the red from the L-quad enhance to get the HA portion, and recombined with the L-quad red to enhance the hydrogen alpha. And you can see that right here in the image. All three were fantastic images showing the details of the reflection with the CPC-800 and a striking view of the surrounding dark nebula with the SV503 80ED. Especially impressive since Andrew was shooting from an almost Bortle 8 sky. I personally went to find the darkest sky within driving distance, as I did not think that I could make out any of the dark nebula from my backyard. So all I can say is, nicely done, Andrew. The final submission comes from Rob, who was imaging from Spain. Rob was using an Altair Starwave 110 EDR, which is an f7 telescope with a focal length of 770 millimeters. It has a field flattener and Altair Hypercam 26C APC camera. He has a Gemini autofocuser and a manual rotator. The rig uses a 280 millimeter guide scope with a ZWO ASI 120 MCS guide camera. Mounted beside the guide scope is a mini computer that runs everything. Rob also has a DIY power box that powers the mount, mini PC, camera, and dew heaters. The mount is a Skywatcher EQ6 Pro, which itself is mounted on a DIY pier. The setup is controlled using ASCOM, Green Swamp Server, Nina, PhD2, and Stellarium. Rob lives in a rural area with a sky quality between Bortle 3 and 4, which makes for a great viewing and imaging experience, but it also means that he does not always have stable shore power. He is using a 24-volt DC power supply, which runs through a power box that steps the 24-volt down to 13.5 for the mount, camera, and mini PC, while the rest of the equipment uses 12-volt. Here's Rob's image. So, Rob spent 7 nights shooting data for this object and shot a total of 666 light frames, of which he ended up using 568. The frames he excluded had obvious satellite trails or clouds. At 180 seconds per frame, his total integration time was over 28 hours. Processing was done in Cyril, Affinity Photo, Star Exterminator, and Graxpert. Rob stacked each night's data separately in Cyril and then combined the data using the OSC pre-processing without DBF script. Afterwards, he plate solved in order to be able to do a spectrophotometric color calibration. Now that's one that I've kind of shied away from using the plate solving, but it's something I'm going to have to check out because it results in a very, very exacting color calibration. Now the remainder of the processing was done in Affinity Photo, where Rob used Star Exterminator to be able to work on the stars and the base image separately. Processing the actual nebula took almost 12 hours to get an image that he was happy with. The wider framing and contrast made possible by the darker rural location really make the dark nebulous region stand out in this image without oversaturation. We can also clearly make out some reddish hydrogen alpha. The colors are very stunning, as is the detail Rob was able to resolve. Overall, an incredible image. Rob has sent me a link to some of his other photos on Telescopius, and I'm going to share this link in the description. And there you have it. Hind's Variable Nebula imaged with 4 different setups, 5 if you count mine, from varying sky locations, each one unique, capturing a variable nebula which fluctuates constantly. Thank you to everyone who tried to image NGC 1555. I hope you had fun with the attempt. And a huge thank you to Stephen, David and Matthew, Andrew, and Rob. Superb job, guys. Well done. With this challenge concluded, I'm on the lookout for the next challenge object. I'm looking for something that's not only tricky to image, but also interesting. So if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and clear skies.